Shikshana Taranga, program for 10th standard students, supported by LTI, NGO partner Prerana, and implemented by Connecting the Dots.
Welcome to Shikshana Taranga, a program by Cloud Tutors to help prepare grade 10 students for board exams. So, the topic of the day is the real numbers. The weightage given to this chapter is about 4 to 6 marks, and the important points that needs to be remembered, or the kind of questions that might be asked in the exams, are based out of HCF and LCM, decimal expansion, rational and irrational numbers. Okay, so let's understand first what are real numbers. So for this, let's see this flow chart from bottom to top approach. So when I say real numbers, what exactly I mean by a real number? For that, I need to know what are natural numbers. So what are natural numbers? Natural numbers are nothing but the counting numbers. So when I say counting numbers, they are 1, 2, 3 and 4 and so on. So if I add a 0 to this series, so 0, if I add 0 along with this natural numbers, they are called as whole numbers. It becomes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and to the infinity, right? Now we cannot ignore the negative numbers, right? So when I include the negative numbers which are less than 0, when I include them, they are called together as integers. So integers mean -3. If I say from minus infinity, if I start -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. Now to this group of numbers, if I add fractions, so what happens? These forms a new number system group that is called as rational numbers. So rational numbers are basically the numbers that include the fractional part of any number. Say -3 by 2, 2 by 3, right? These are all the fractional parts. So when I include any number which is in the P by Q form, that is what we say. So if any number which is in P by Q form is called a rational number. When I say P by Q form, so what about 5? Is it P by Q form? Yes, it is. 5 can also be written as 5 by 1. Yeah, and one more clause that you need to remember is here Q is not equal to 0 for P by Q. Okay, so now this is one group of number system. So what are irrational numbers? Irrational numbers are those numbers that cannot be included in this group that is rational numbers. They are isolated. Why are they isolated? Because they are under the root 2, root 3, root 5, then pi, and any number which does not terminate. When I say terminate, I mean when I divide a number with another number, the decimal expansion should end. If it is not ending and it is not recurring, then those kind of numbers are called irrational numbers. Now I said pi is a irrational number, but pi, we all know that we have been using the value of pi as 22 by 7, right? So, but this 22 by 7 is definitely in the P by Q form, correct? So this is in P by Q form. Definitely Q is not equal to 0, right? So this, how can the pi be called as a irrational? Because it is in the P by Q form, it is a rational number. Then why does it belong to an irrational group? Because pi value, if I start dividing, is 3.14152 and it goes on to an infinite value. It is non-terminating. Neither the pattern repeats itself. Then what is 22 by 7? It is just an approximate value of pi. So therefore, when I see just pi, when I use a symbol of pi, it is definitely an irrational number. But when I say 22 by 7, it comes under the category of rational numbers. Okay, together natural numbers, then whole numbers, then integers, then rational numbers, and one more small group of irrational numbers added together, this entire big group is called as real numbers. Okay, so after understanding the real numbers, let's try and understand the concepts that we will be studying under these chapters. So this chapter includes Euclid division lemma, fundamental theorem of arithmetic, and a few theorems that we will be discussing in the further few minutes. Okay, so let's get started. So the first theorem, which is a fundamental theorem of arithmetic, the theorem states that every composite number can be expressed as a product of primes, and this factorization is unique apart from the order in which the prime factors occur. Now, before I start with the theorem itself, so let's try and understand what are primes. What I mean by primes, that is a prime number, and what is a composite number. So when I say prime, any number which has a factor of 1 and itself. So when I say prime number, it is, if I take an example, that would be 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, right, 13, wherein the factors are 1 and itself. Okay, so these numbers are called prime numbers. And what are composite numbers? When I say composite numbers, any number having more than 2 factor, like 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, and so on. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and it goes on. Now, where does this 1 belong to, right? Where does 1 belong to? We said prime number is a number which has a factor of 1 and itself. Composite number, more than 2 factors. So what are the factors of 4? 2 and even 1, right? When I say 6, 1, 2 and 3. When I say 8, 1, 2, 2, even 4, right? But where is this 1, right? 1, remember, 1 is neither a prime nor a composite number. Previously, it was considered to be a prime, but it is not. So 1 is neither a prime number nor a composite number. So with this knowledge, let's understand what this theorem tries to say. So every composite number can be expressed as a product of primes. So if I take the simplest number, that is, say for example 12. The 12 number, I can write the factors of 12 as 4 into 3. But is 4 a prime number? No. 4 is not a prime number, right? We just learned. So we can write this 4 as 2 into 2 into 3. So observe here, what did I do? I just split the 4 in terms of a prime. Smallest even prime number is 2. So I can write 12 as 2 square into 3, right? So I have able to express this composite number as a product of prime, and this factorization is unique. This factorization belongs only to 12. I cannot have this pattern or the product of primes which can match the other composite number. No, it is unique. This belongs to only to 12. Okay, now so let's move on to see the next theorem. If I say let x equal to p by q be a rational number such that the prime factorization of q is of the form 2 power n into 5 power m, where n and m are non-negative integers, then x has a decimal expansion which terminates. So first let me take an example here what it exactly means. So if I take an example 2 by 25. See here, it is in the p by q form, correct? Where my p is 2 and 25 is q. Now I'll divide that. Okay, so 25 divided by 2 will give me, I cannot divide 2 by 22. So what I'll do, I'll place a decimal point, so it becomes 20. 20 is still smaller, so what I will do, I'll add one more 0, right? So now the number is 200 and it divides with 4. So giving me a remainder of 0, right? So this this rational number 2 by 25 can be written as 0.04, and it is a terminating expansion. It is a decimal expansion which is terminating. Now what do I mean by 2 power n and 5 power m? See here, prime factorization of q is of the form 2 power n and into 5 power m. So what exactly is, we will consider only q. Here my q is equal to 25. So what are the factors of 25? I can write 5 into 5. Correct? So what is 5 into 5 is nothing but 5 square. But my theorem states that it has to be in the form of 2 power n into 5 power m. Here I definitely have a factor which is in terms of 5, but I do not have 2. So can I not write this as 5 power 2 into 2 power 0? Will it affect the value of q? Definitely not, because anything to the power of 0 is always equal to 1. So here my n is equal to 0 and m is equal to 2, and we have seen that it is has a decimal expansion which terminates. We have already divided and we have followed this. All right, so I hope this is clear. So whenever I have a rational number and wherein the prime factors of q are of the form 2 power n into 5 power m, then where n and m are non-negative integers, you have to be careful about this. So then the decimal expansion definitely terminates. Okay, so now what happens if q value does not have a prime factors, right? I mean, definitely I can express the value of q in terms of prime factors, but not in the form of 2 power n into 5 power m. So let me take an example first. Say 1 by 3, right? When I divide this, 3 divided by 1, it is not divisible, so I add a decimal point 10. So 3 times 9, 1 again, so it is 3, 9, and this goes on, right? So 1 by 3 can be written as 0.3333, okay, or this can be written as 0.3 bar, and we can see that it is non-terminating, but it is recurring. So it is constantly recurring, but it is not terminating. Therefore I can still say that it is a rational number. But can I express in the form of 2 power n into 5 power n? Let's see. Q is equal to 3. Okay, Q is 3. And can I expect 2 power 0 also if I write into 5 power 0 into 3 power n? But observe here, you still have a value of 3 along with 2 power 0 into 5 power 0, right? So therefore I should only express the denominator in terms of factors of 2 and factors of 5. Now I have one more prime factor, that is 3. So whenever I have any other prime factor other than 2 and 5, then it is very clear that it is non-terminating and recurring. Okay, so let's solve few questions here. So I have 1 by 10. Can we express this in the form of 2 power n into 5 power m? Let's see. Q is equal to 2 power n into 5 power m, which is equal to 10. Here 2 into 5. So it is 1 and 1. So I was able to express that in the form of 2 power n into 5 power m. So is it terminating decimal expansion? Definitely yes. Correct? Got it? So let's see the next question. 1 by 25. So let's divide this. Sorry, we are not dividing here, right? We are only checking if it's in the form of 2 power n into 5 power m. So Q is equal to 25. Let's express this in that form. here definitely it does not have any factor of 2, but we have 5 square. And 2 power 1 or 0? It has to be 0 because we do not have any factor which is of the factor 2. So this one here, my n is equal to 0 and m is equal to 2. Again, I was able to express this in terms of 2 power n into 5 power n. Definitely it is a terminating decimal expansion. Here again, let's see the next question. Q is equal to 9. So when I say Q is equal to 9, can I, so what are the factors of this? So this can be written as 3 square. Can I express this in terms of 2 power n into 5 power m? No. Immaterial of, if I write it as 2 power 0 into 5 power 0 into 3 power 2, I still have the factor 3 square. So therefore, this is non-terminating and recurring decimal expansion. Is it terminating? No. Okay. So great. So now let's look into the practice questions which are based on the previous year question papers. So first question here is, without actually performing the long division, state whether the following rational numbers will have a terminating decimal expansion or a non-terminating decimal expansion. So let's see this. Again, it's already in the form of, Q is in the form of 2 power n into 5 power m, correct? Where n is 3 and m is 2. So therefore I can say that 23 divided by 2 power 3 into 5 power 2 is a terminating decimal expansion. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Next question is 64 divided by 455. So what is the value, what are the factors of 455? Here Q is 455 and the factors of 455 is 5 into 91, where 91 being the prime number. So I cannot express this in the form of 2 power n into 5 power m. So therefore, based on this, I can say that the decimal expansion is non-terminating and recurring. Okay. So let's write the statement. Therefore, 64 divided by 455 is non-terminating and recurring. I hope you all know what is recurring, right? Recurring means which keeps repeating. Decimal expansion. Okay, so let's look at the next question. Given that HCF of 306 and 657 is equal to 9. So my HCF is equal to 9. Now they want us to find the LCM. So what are the numbers? It is 306 and 657. So how do we find the HCF and LCM of these two numbers? So we know the relation between the HCF and LCM. HCF into LCM is equal to product of the given two numbers. Okay, now let's substitute the values. HCF is 9 into LCM, and what are the numbers? They are 306 into 657. Okay, so let's cross multiply the 9 to the other side. It becomes 306 into 657 divided by 9. So on, see, don't go directly to multiplying the numbers 306 and 657. The number becomes big and the division becomes difficult. So what you do is try and simplify at this point itself. So what do we do? 9 ones are, and this is 34 times. So my LCM would be 34 into 657. So the product of these two numbers is 22,338. Okay, so let's see the next question now. Check whether 6 power n can end with digit 0 for any natural number n. So if 6 power n should end with digit 0, that means it should have a factor 5, right? 5 is the one which has the prime number which has a factor ending with 5 or 0, right? Let's write that in the form of statement. If 6 power n ends with digit 0, so let me write 0 only, with 0, then it should be divisible by 5. Now, as we all know, if it is divisible by 5, the unit place has to be 0 or 5. Let's see the prime factorization of 6 power n. A prime factorization of 6 power n is what? I can write 6 as, in terms of prime factors, as 2 into 3. So 2 into 3 whole power n, or this is equal to 2 power n into 3 power n. As you all can observe, I do not have any factor containing 5 here. So hence it is very clear that 6 power n cannot end with digit 0. So 6 power n is not divisible by 5, and thus 6 power n cannot end with digit 0 for any natural number n. All right. So now let's move on to the next question. Find the largest number that divides 245 and 1029, leaving 5 as remainder in each case. So what are the numbers? It is giving us the remainder 5 in each case. That means that let's find the actual numbers. So if it's giving 5 as remainder, that means 245 minus 5 will be equal to 240, and 1029 minus 5 will be equal to 1024. Now when I divide 240 and 1024, that does not leave a remainder. Now we have to find the largest number that divides these two numbers completely. Okay, so let's see that. To find that, we need to find the HCF. So HCF of 240 and 1024 will be equal to the largest number that divides 245 and 1029. Okay, so now let's find the prime factors. To find the HCF, let's find the prime factors of 245. So what are the prime factors of 240? Okay, so what are the prime factors of 240? I can write the prime factors as 2 power 4 into 3 into 5. So prime factors of 1024 is equal to 2 power 10. That's it. So what I will do is, to show you the comparison, I will express this 2 power 10 as 2 power 4 into 2 power 6. Now we need to find the common factors. So what are the common factors which are common to both? As you all can see, it is 2 power 4 and 2 power 4, which is common to both. So the common factor here is 2 power 4, and that is nothing but 16. So hence HCF is equal to 16 is equal to the required largest number that divides 245, 1029, leaving 5 as remainder. Okay, now let's see the next question now. Prove that if x and y are both positive integers, then x square plus y square is even but not divisible by 4. So let's see, when I say an odd positive integer, what does it mean? So let x is equal to 2k plus 1. So wherein the k value can be anything. Say if it is value of k is 0, x will be equal to 1. If k is equal to 1, x will be equal to 3. So you can observe that they are all odd numbers. So x is equal to k, 2k plus 1, and let y is equal to 2p plus 1. So now let's square them. So x square plus y square is equal to 2k plus 1 the whole square plus 2p plus 1 the whole square. So let's expand them. So it is 4k square plus 1 plus 4k plus 4p square plus 1 plus 4p. I have used the identity, that is a plus b the whole square, which is equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. Okay, so here I can group these numbers wherein the factors are 4, right? So what happens? It is 4 into k square plus k plus p square plus p. Okay, then I have two other numbers. Observe here, 1 and 1. So which adds up to 2. So plus 2, right? So it is very clear that I'm having a number which is 2, which is being added to this expression. Therefore definitely it cannot be divisible by 4. So hence I can write that in statement, x and y are odd integers, odd positive integers. Then x square plus y square is even. Definitely it is even. If I had to say remove a common factor of 2, definitely the entire thing would be divisible by 2. If I have a question wherein it says to show that it is divisible by 2, I can easily do that. But now that I'm having 2, the number is definitely even but not divisible by 4. But not divisible by 4. Okay, so let's move on to the next question now. The length, breadth and height of a room are 8 meters and 25 centimeters, 6 meters, 75 centimeters, 4 meter and 50 centimeter respectively. Determine the longest rod which can measure the 3 dimensions of the room exactly. So here I have a question with 2 different units. So what I will do here is first express the express this all the dimensions, that is length, breadth and width in one dimension, that is in terms of centimeters. So let the length of the room be is 8 meters and 25 centimeters, that is nothing but 825 centimeters, and breadth of the room is 6 meters 75 centimeters, that is equal to 675 centimeters. And then height of the room. Height of the room is 4 meters and 50 centimeters, that is equal to 450 centimeters. Now we have to find the prime factorization of all these numbers. Why? Because we need to find the HCF. Because when I find the HCF only, then will I know what should be the length of the rod that would measure this room exactly. Okay? So, prime factorization of 825 centimeters, 675 centimeters and 450 centimeters is as follows. So 825 would be 3 into 5 into 5 into 11. 675 would be 3 into 3 into 3 into 5 into 5. Then 450 centimeters would be 2 into 3 into 3 into 5 into 5. Now let's find the common factors. They are 3, then 5 and 5. So common factors are 3 into 5 square, that is equal to 75 centimeters. Therefore, the longest rod that is needed is of the measure 75 centimeters. Let's write write it in the statement form. The length of longest rod is 75 centimeters, which can measure the room exactly. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. On a morning walk, 3 persons step off together and their steps measure 40 centimeters, 42 centimeter and 45 centimeter respectively. What is the minimum distance each should walk so that each can cover the same distance in complete steps? So what does this mean? Step off. Step off is nothing but start. They will all start together. Okay. Now we want to know when they will, how much distance will they cover in complete steps again to reach at the same point when they are together. So let's see. What do we need to find? Is it HCF or LCM? This time it's not HCF. We need to find the LCM of the step measure, that is 40 centimeter, 42 and 45. Okay, let's get started. Since the 3 persons start walking together the minimum distance covered by each of them in complete steps will be equal to LCM of these numbers 40, 42 and 45. So for this again let's write the prime factors. Prime factors of 40 is 2 cube into 5 and prime factors of 42 is 2 into 3 into 7 and prime factor of 45 is equal to 2 cube into, sorry, it is 3 square into 5. Now we need to find the LCM. So how do we find the LCM? I have 2 cube, then I have 5, 7 and 3 square. So let's write. So LCM would be equal to LCM of 40, 42 and 45 will be equal to 2 cube into 5 into 3 square into 7 and this is equal to 2520. So that means that each person should walk a minimum distance of 2520 centimeters in complete steps. Yeah. Now let's see the next question then. So using Euclid's division algorithm, find the largest number that divides 1251, 9377 and 15628, leaving remainders 1, 2 and 3 respectively. So what do we do here? First, let's find the numbers, right? Let's find the numbers. Numbers are 1251. So when I divide 1251 with that one largest number, it leaves a remainder of 1. So the number is 1250, which divides completely. Now coming to next number 9377 leaves a remainder of 2. So if I subtract that with 2, the number would be 9375, which divides completely. Next number is 15628 and when I divide this number with the largest number, it leaves the remainder 3. So when I subtract this with 3, I will get 15625, which divides completely. Now I need to find the required number would be the HCF of all these numbers. So required number is equal to HCF of 1250, 9375 and 15625. Okay, so again let's find the prime factors of 1250, 9375 and 15625. So what are the prime factors? Prime factors of 1250 is equal to 2 into 5 power 4 and prime factors of 9375 is equal to 3 into 5 square, and prime factors of 15625 would be 5 power 6, and this I will write it as 5 square into 5 power 2, and this can be written as 5 square into 5 square into 2. Okay, this can be written as 3 into 5 into 5 power 4. Here, as you all can observe, the common factors are 5 square, 5 power 4 and 5 square. So I can write that common factors is 5 power 4, that is nothing but 625, which is equal to, which is my HCF. So the required number that divides these given numbers completely is 625. So hence 625 is the largest number which divides the numbers leaving a remainder of 1, 2 and 3. Alright, so let's see the next question now. Prove that root 2 is irrational. So let's see and prove it that it is irrational. To prove that it is an irrational, let us assume that root 2 is rational. So let us suppose root 2 is rational number. So when I say rational number, it should be in the form of P by Q. So let us say root 2 is equal to P by Q, where P and Q are co-prime. What do you mean by co-prime? Co-prime is nothing but the HCF of P and the number Q will be just 1. Okay, those numbers are called as co-prime. Co-prime integers and Q is not equal to 0. Okay, now let's square on both the sides. So root 2 whole square is equal to P by Q whole square. So that is nothing but 2 is equal to P square by Q square. On cross multiplying, 2Q square is equal to P square. It is very clear that 2 divides P square, right? So let's write that. Therefore, 2 divides P square. By theorem, it follows that P is also divisible by 2. Okay, now let's so we can write P is equal to 2C for some say C is also an integer. For some integer C. Alright, now again let me substitute the value of this P in this equation, and let me call it as 1. So I'll substitute it there. So it will be equal to 2Q square is equal to 2C the whole square, right? This is 2q square is equal to 4c square, or q square is equal to 2c square. Now what do we see? 2 is dividing even q, right? This means that 2 divides q square, and so 2 divides q as well. Therefore, P and Q have at least 2 as a common factor. So, but this is a contradiction, right? This is a contradiction to our assumption. Where we said that they are co-prime, that is they have only one factor, that is 1. Here we have 2 down to our assumption. So therefore root 2 is irrational. It is irrational because the assumption that we had made initially, that root 2 is a rational number, was wrong. Therefore root 2 is irrational. But you might be wondering, why did we even do it? But we have to do it to prove it as irrational. So we start with assuming that given number as rational, and then go on to prove that it is irrational. Okay, so now let's see the next question. Prove that the difference and quotient of 3 plus 2 root 3 and 3 minus 2 root 3 are irrational. So let's prove this. So difference, so that means 3 plus 2 root 3 minus 3 minus 2 root 3. The answer should be irrational. So let's expand the brackets here. 3 plus 2 root 3 minus 3, minus into minus is plus, 2 root 3, minus 3 plus 3 cancels, and plus 2 root 3 plus 2 root 3 will give me 4 root 3. So therefore difference of 3 plus 2 root 3 and 3 minus 2 root 3 is irrational. Now let's see their quotient. Quotient means 3 plus 2 root 3 divided by 3 minus 2 root 3. So to find the quotient, we have to rationalize this. So let's rationalize. To rationalize, I will take the conjugate of the denominator, that is 3 plus 2 root 3 divided by 3 plus 2 root 3. So this will give me 3 plus 2 root 3 the whole square, and for the denominator I can use the identity a minus b into a plus b. So that is 3 square minus 2 root 3 the whole square. So that is equal to, let's expand this, 3 square is 9 plus 3 2s are 6, 6 2s are 12 into root 3 plus 2 root 3 whole square is 4 into 3, that is 12. Square of 2 root 3 is 2 square is 4 and root 3 whole square would be 3. So 4 into 3 is 12. And the denominator is 9 minus 12, right? 2 root 3 is 4 into 3, 12. So I will get the value as 9 plus 12 is 21 plus 12 root 3 divided by 9 minus 12 is minus 3. This can be simplified and divided by 3. I can remove 3 as a common factor, and let's multiply this with minus 1. So root 3 minus 7. So 4 root 3 minus 7 by 3. 3 and 3 cancels. So the final answer would be 4 root 3 minus 7. As you all can see that even the quotient of these two numbers is irrational. So let's write it. Quotient of 3 plus 2 root 3 and 3 minus 2 root 3 is irrational. Okay. So with this we come to the end of this unit, the chapter on real numbers, and we solved few questions based on the previous year question papers. I'll see you next time with a new topic. Thank you.